Welcome to Patriots to the Core. I'm Thad Forrester. This podcast exists because of my little brother, Mark Forrester. He was angered by the attacks on 9/11, so he joined the military to help rid the world of terrorists. On September 29, 2010, he was killed on his first deployment. From his death notification to the dignified transfer ceremony, his viewing, funeral, and subsequent memorials, I was amazed at the new world of warriors we met. These patriots have become close to our family and been huge supports. They stood out because of their willingness to voluntarily fight evil. They believed in freedom. Because of their actions, I started this podcast to interview great Americans who serve their country and communities. Thank you for tuning in. Great cap, Brian. Jag 28, I love it.
Feel good, man. You know, I figured, look, I love this hat. Hands down, I love this hat. But if I'm going to be on your show, right, I've got to dress accordingly. And I know we'll talk about gear later, but you got to gear up. You got a great GORUCK shirt on, I can see.
Yeah.
I can tell by the look of that thing, but this is one of the nicer hats I own. Had the pleasure of picking this up when I was at your golf tournament with your whole family and all your friends and a bunch of people that knew Mark. And so to throw that on today, I felt like it was apropos to do that for you.
Yeah, appreciate it. And so for those who haven't watched the video, we have a golf tournament video from the 2023 tournament, and Brian and his company, Pick Up the Six, did that.
Yeah.
So it's great.
Big film crew that day.
Big film crew. That's right.
You're looking at the production department.
You got to shoot
which
the
was
cannon,
cool,
though.
Man. We did. We got to shoot the air cannon on that hole, which was an absolute blast. We took some really incredible drone videos of that course. I mean, that Robert Trent Jones, those courses are phenomenal. And the backdrop of that course with that river there, I did not know what I was getting myself into. And those, boy, just the way in which it drops off. I mean, it was gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous. So it was
I'm glad you got to see it. Well, you captured it pretty well too.
Thanks, brother.
So I appreciate that.
Yeah.
So let's talk about NGBN TV.
Sure.
This is one that you've been promoting for a long time that I've seen. A really long time. And I kept wondering what is this?
Yeah.
What does NGBN mean? Like, what are those? Are they acronyms or what? So it's launched, it's live since sometime in January. And I wanted to help you out what little I can, but I said, hey, let me download this. Let me watch it, check it out, and let's do something. So thanks for coming on. I want to get the word out for it. So will you explain, how you got involved and what it is?
Well, grateful for the opportunity to do that. And, we've done home and aways with each other on our different shows, right? Sharing stories about purpose and service and all those things. That's what we do at Pick Up the Six. I got introduced to the founder named Ian Hill of NGBN about 3 years ago. And it's an F3 connection, another thing that you and I have in common, this men's leadership and fitness group that we're both a part of. And he was on a journey. And this man at age 57 was seeking to, at the time we were introduced, to be the oldest man to play Division I college football. And the reason why was he wanted to show men in that age bracket that they still had purpose and meaning. And specifically, he wanted to use it as a platform, as a megaphone, to say, look at this 57-year-old attempting to play college football, but really to have real conversations around men's mental health. And quite frankly, to have real conversations around suicide awareness and prevention. Because at the age of 50, Ian Hill walked downstairs and told his family he was ready to punch his own ticket. He was ready to check out, do the one thing we can't undo. Luckily, cooler heads prevailed, but the next 7 years, he was on a mission to say, what can I do to curb this thing? Because men in their 40s, 50s, and 60s are 70% more likely to commit suicide than any other age demographic. And 105 men in America today will be successful in doing that one thing that we can't undo. And it's tragic and it's incredibly sad. And far too many men are impacted. And quite frankly, far too many veteran men are impacted as well, based on the things that they've seen done and have been through in life. And so he set off on a mission to, and having had a background in streaming and broadcasting, was looking around saying, there's not a place for guys to go. So part of the issue is men get isolated and they get to feeling like there's not a place for them sometimes. Quite frankly, it's why F3 has been so instrumental in going into communities and giving guys a place to be. And so he said, you know what? I'm going to start this thing called National Grassroots Broadcasting Network, NGBN TV. And we want to create a platform where we entertain, educate, inspire, celebrate, and support men in their 40s, 50s, and 60s by creating a streaming TV network that's designed for them. And so in doing that, he started then building out relationships with people that could help get to that goal. And a friend of ours in F3 said, you've got to get the men of F3 involved in this. In fact, They're already creating content that is missionally aligned with what NGBN cares about. And oh, by the way, Brian Jodice, who hosts an F3 show, the Circle of Trust podcast at the time, now a show on NGBN, also has this other entity called Pick Up the Six, where he's creating stories about service, purpose, and impact. So we had a conversation, and quite frankly, it was like, we're all missionally aligned. You are as well, Thad. How can we team up together? And so this long process of taking like-minded content creators like F3, like Pick Up the Six, giving them a home under this one banner is what begins to create this streaming TV network that we launched on January 29th. In the sneak peek, it's currently available on Roku, Amazon Fire, Google connected devices. You download the app and you can see a live streaming channel. And in the next few weeks, we'll have a continuous stream all day. But then you can see a bunch of on-demand content. And so we've given those folks a home. We've continued to invite new content creators, and then we've built out what this thing is actually going to be. So in addition to just creating content for men, which is a Herculean effort of itself, we can't just invite guys in and create great content for them. That's great. But if we really are going to save men's lives and just impact men across our communities, we have to help them build community. So we are forming strategic partnerships with organizations like F3 and others that are like-minded to then create content, build community. All right, then, how can we actually stop guys from doing that irreversible thing? We're going to then equip them with the tools to be able to step into the breach when they need to. And that culminates this Saturday, April 6th. We're recording on a Friday. You might release this later, no worries. But that culminates in our first Equip Ourselves to Save a Life, mental health, CPR, suicide prevention training. So that's a long way. I'll stop for a minute, right? Because I'll let you jump back in. I'm sure you've got questions and thoughts. It's a long way of saying, years of aligning, building the actual infrastructure around a streaming device and what it takes to do that, right? There's a lot of stuff that we got to upload and create on the internet that, right, pushes all those things to one place, but ensuring throughout that entire process, it's all missionally aligned around educating, entertaining, inspiring, celebrating, supporting men, helping them build community, sending them to places like F3 if they're like, I need somewhere to go, and then equipping them, right, to step into the breach and maybe potentially save their brother's life.
Brian, you gave the stats of suicide in this 40s,
Yeah.
50s, 60s age range. But what is it about that range that why are men more prone to do that at that particular time?
I've got a lot of thoughts, and I've been around it a lot just because of, just leaning into men in that age group. Can I get scriptural for a second with you? Is that all right?
Yeah,
I know you
definitely
are a believer.
Mm-hmm.
1 Peter 5, chapter 5, verse 8, right? I think that's about right. Your enemy is like a lion, like on the prowl looking for something to devour. I probably butchered that, but you get the sense, right?
Yep.
So the enemy waits in the darkness with lies and gains a foothold in a man's mind and spirit, but has the best chance of doing that when he gets isolated. And so I believe there are a lot of issues at play. First and foremost, having a biblical worldview, I believe that there is a spiritual warfare happening against men. Because when you take male leaders out of families and community, the enemy has a much higher success rate at destroying those families, communities, and societies.
Mm-hmm.
I firmly believe that in my heart. And so if he can take out men, specifically dads, husbands, brothers, fathers, right? If he can take those guys out, well, then it's much easier to compromise the rest of mankind. And that's a very grandiose view of it, right? So that's my very big picture in my heart, what I think is happening. And then also, you don't need me to point out to you, you look around in society or even in media, and the male figure over the last 20 to 30 years has been wildly marginalized and has been depicted as the fat slob father that, sort of off on his own and is quiet. And there's also this weird ideology that, we're lone wolves and men, like, no, man, we're pack animals that thrive together. But, you can flip on media, TV, or even commercials. There's a commercial that's been running for the last few years. It's for a cell phone company. Doesn't matter which one, really. And in the commercial, there's a family sitting in their chaotic household. They got a beautiful big family, but it's depicted as this chaotic household. And the dad is schlubby with a mustache and a half-grown beard in a white t-shirt that's all stretched out, and he looks like shit. Excuse my language, but that's what, right? They depict him as this. And he's with his wife and all, hey, beautiful wife, but all these kids, and it's chaos. And the theme of the commercial is we have this big family, so we get a family plan. Smash cut to the wife's sister, so the man's sister-in-law, who says, well, because of this cell phone company, I don't need the family to get the family plan. And I try, I try not to put the tinfoil hat and think that that's happening intentionally, but I can see how he's depicted in that. And I can see that there are men that are going to be watching this today, or that maybe will listen to this and think, well, I felt like nobody's paid attention to me before. And so I just think there's far too much of that happening. And then additionally, you take our brothers in arms, the guys that your brother served with, that risk life and limb to defend our country, and then come home and unfortunately, in far too many cases, are sort of tossed aside. And so I'm painting the picture of what I think has happened over the last 20 to 30 years, where I think men across our communities have been marginalized, have been set aside, and in some cases have been told they don't matter. And so when that happens, coupled with, I think, the enemy trying to get a foothold in their heart and in their soul, it compounds. And even the guys that you might look at and think have the greatest life, something happens, man, and they just think the only way to get away from those problems or the overwhelming parts of life are to check out. And so we've got to do something to curb it, because 105 guys a day is too many. We can't keep losing them. So we're on the warpath, bro. It's not hyperbolic. We are on the warpath to create a TV network that's going to entertain these guys, but that also is going to have real conversations.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And so we're going to have sports shows and fishing shows. We got these guys out of Alabama. You're going to love these guys. Truex Sports, fishing, hunting, like we got all that stuff. But then we also got motivational, wellness, right? Mental health coaches, conversations, like bring all this stuff in as a way to maybe we can help, turn the tide on this thing a little bit. Yeah.
There's a lot of shows.
Yeah.
Are the you said that the outdoor X guys, are they already on there? It seems like I saw that.
Truex outdoor guys are on there. So if you go to the app, we've got sort of categorized channels, right? So I'm in like motivation and inspiration. There's an F3 channel where just the F3 shows go. So you can catch up on your F3 news that way. But the Truex outdoor guys, oh my God, these guys are hilarious, dude. And they're doing fun stuff outside, and they're fishing, hunting, all that kind of stuff. But they're also talking about life things. I mean, these are where guys talk about things, right? We're going to have shows that are talking about sports, but then gives guys a chance to talk about what's going on in their life. Man, we're going to explore things like a barbershop show or even a cigar lounge. Like, where are guys talking about stuff going on with them, right? Let's do that. And I think we've got a platform to do that. And we're exploring things like, a daily morning show and things of that nature, where we're looking to make this thing big and legit and do something that's not been done before. And what's really incredible about it is we are incredibly decentralized. There's a level of F3-ness to it, in that we don't have a big studio. We don't have a big centralized hub. We've got independent content creators that come together under an aligned mission, which is most important, right? An aligned mission to then try to go serve our audience, which I think will be pretty cool.
Well, if I think through this a little bit, Brian, I don't know if this is going to come out clear, but 40s, 50s, and 60s. So you've got in that age range, you've got men who are like me, who started having children late. So I'm in the thick of it. I got 3 boys that are 11, 9, and 6.
Yeah.
I'm in the thick of
mode. Yeah.
It is sports and everything.
Oh yeah.
But you've also got my guys my age whose kids are out of the house.
You do.
That's right. And they have some grandkids.
That's right.
So then you got a 60-year-old who probably for sure has grandkids.
Yep.
Even with me, like, I don't ever get bored. I'm never bored, even on days like today where I didn't work and my kids were at school. There's very, very little downtime.
Yeah.
So I enjoy what I get. But with the chaos in my life and the noise, like I've got to have, first of all, some quiet time, but I still need guys to do something with, and I don't need it a lot.
Right.
F3 is great. I'm not getting deep and personal with anybody at F3 normally.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that's one reason why I love rucking so much, is because I can go for a ruck with a buddy.
Yeah.
We can talk.
You can talk. And there's also something about physically putting the weight on of a ruck that is symbolic and then also physical, right? Like it's hard. You put 30, 40, 50 pounds in that ruck, it makes your workout harder. But there is something about putting that thing on and feeling the weight of that. And then, yeah, having somebody to talk to. Again, we're not lone wolves, right? When you get isolated is when bad things happen because the noise builds up in one place between your ears. And these guys think the way to solve it, is to just stop it. And what we've got to do is get other men equipped to, when having conversations or just when seeing other guys, just what should I even be looking for? Because we often hear, I would have never seen that coming.
Yeah.
Right. There were no signs, but there's got to be signs along the way. So we got to break through that and find out how we can help stop it.
What are some things that you've learned since the launch and now that maybe things you weren't planning, or have you had to do a 180 on anything or what?
Well, I mean, we're a startup, right? We're 100% a startup. There's no VC funding behind this thing. You got real motivated people that are willing to step up and be a part of this thing and build it. So that's been incredibly humbling. And it's also stressful, right? Because it's a lot of work to be able to do that. One thing that was really pretty incredible was we launched the sneak peek on January 29th. And that following Tuesday, we went live from Media Row at the Super Bowl. We were fortunate enough to have Super Bowl credentials to the Media Row portion. Unfortunately, not to the game, but I had to get home watching my girls because they're big Swifties. And if dad wasn't home to watch Taylor Swift's boyfriend play football with them, they would have been mad. But, so we were able to stream live for 3 days, 7 hours a day for Media Row. So that was incredibly eye-opening and learned a lot about what we need and what we need to continue to do. And then, you just I've learned a lot about what it takes to build these shows out, to take a podcast and what do I got to do to build it out to make it a 57-minute show? I'm very fortunate because, I've got experience in live TV. Remember, I spent 8 years working as a sports anchor in Texas and Illinois. So I've got the experience of coming in and out of breaks. So all of that part of it, right, of the broadcasting part. And I think I'll be hopefully, very involved in the things that we'll create, specifically the live elements we'll create. So that's been a nice refresher on seeing that happen. And then, you learn stuff as you go, right? We're getting ready to host this Equip training on this coming Saturday, and the team's on the ground in LA and they've had to pivot on locations. And, when you're streaming, we're not big broadcast networks, right? I don't have the towers and the signals that ESPN has. I got the internet that's in the space I'm at that day, right? To be able to do that. So you've learned a lot about, all right, upload speeds, right? Like I better get hardwired. Like right now, you might be on your Wi-Fi. I'm hardwired in to an Ethernet cable. So I make sure I'm at the highest upload speed, So it's just stuff like that, right? That comes with it. And then, I've been rethinking my set a little bit and I'm going to build out a background behind these shelves that's going to have a flatter look to it. That's going to look a little bit better with the lighting we bring in. People are going to be watching me on 4K on a massive TV in their living room. That takes a level of detail, attention to detail. So we're going to need more lights. I'm going to get some more different new microphones in here. So we might talk F3 or rucking gear. Well, on this side, all right, now this has been a great microphone that's got me through a lot of shows. I'm going to have to bring in a more directional microphone on an arm that I can move. I have to bring in some additional lighting, build a background out. So some of that stuff are the things you learn as you go through the production
Don't touch the beard.
process.
I think your beard is on point right now.
My wife would advocate that the beard goes. She prefers without it, but I told her it's part of the brand now. It's part of the brand.
Yeah, it's definitely, you're having a good beard day too.
It's good. Sure. It feels good. Yeah, it feels good. It's a little, my brother, you can attest. It's starting to, it's getting a little gray there in the chin. It's starting to get a little gray in the chin, but they got some stuff for that. So we take care of that.
Yeah.
It's all good.
What else about NGBN TV would you like to say? And if you could broadcast it to millions, what would you say?
Well, just look, if you've got a streaming connected device, at minimum, go see if we're on there. I can tell you on Roku, Amazon Fire, Google connected devices, you can download the app today. We've got more coming online. Those things just take time, right? As you build that stuff out. And give us a shot and give us a chance. And then quite frankly, if you've got ideas or, if you've got shows you want to be a part of, do it. And then for your faith believing friends, pray for our efforts. We've got a lot of faith that flows through what we do. I look at it from the story of, Jesus shares this story about you've got a shepherd and he's got 100 sheep and one of those sheep goes missing. What do? Right. Well, man, I got 99 in the flock here, man. Why don't I just forget the one? Let me take care of the bulk. And the message is no, you leave the 99. And so for our believer friends, I'd ask that you just pray that we continue to leave the 99. I mean, it's something I always focus on. I signed an email out with that the other day. Like, just let me remember throughout this whole process. Let's go. All right. There's 105 guys. Let's get it to 104. Let's get it to 103. Right. Let's keep chipping away at this thing.
Excellent.
So, yeah.
Yeah. A little bit at a time, but
Yeah.
just perseverance. I love what you're doing there. And I've got a Fire TV. I got 2 Fire TVs. So
load it up, baby.
It's on both of
and
my
then
Fire
create
TVs.
a different account for your other one so we can get multiple downloads.
Okay, I understand that. I need to do that. And I've got a Samsung. I don't think it's on there. I don't see it. Samsung.
Yeah,
is
like
limited,
we're streaming this equip training tomorrow at my local barbershop, which will be a great place to do it. He's got Vizio TVs. Our app's not there yet. It just takes a while, and honestly, it takes resources. So as we build and we bring great national sponsors in, like our friends at Family Farms who make awesome chicken, right? We're able to then, all right, now we onboard the Vizio part. Now we get the Apple TV going. So we're a startup, man. It takes time.
Yeah, Family Farm seems to be a good sponsor.
Their food's outstanding. Their food's outstanding.
I don't even know that I've had it.
So good.
I mean, do they sell to grocery stores or do
no? So you can order online. There's some places you can buy it, like some Buc-ee's have it, places like that. But you can definitely order packages to your house. Their whole thing is they make this high-end bacon wrapped chicken dishes, bro. They're so good.
Okay,
good.
That's good to know.
Good.
Because I remember the commercial.
Yeah, they sent us a whole box of the Super Bowl and we were cooking. It was outstanding. Yeah.
Well, what about Ian Hill? What's his status now? Is he still trying to play?
Yeah. So he played some college football last year, had a shoulder injury. He is fully intending to this spring and summer. He actually spent a lot of time not far from you over at, is Alabama State over there?
Alabama State is in Montgomery.
Who's in? Maybe it was Northern Alabama. Maybe
Alabama A&M is in Huntsville.
Yeah,
they have.
But who's over in Muscle Shoals in Florence?
Oh, UNA, North Alabama.
So I think he spent a lot of time in Florence and Muscle Shoals. So he's made He's got a few different areas and schools that are going to give him tryouts and things of that nature. So he's still pursuing it. So that's good. And he was in Muscle Shoals and Florence pursuing NGBN and this football thing, and was like, this community needs some F3. And your boys over in Huntsville got that thing going over there.
So that's how that happened. Well, you came down. I mean, you were there.
We made some calls and we're like, all right, let's figure out how we can do this. And you got some high impact men in your area, and I think they got some pretty steady AOs over there now in the Shoals.
Yeah. That's good.
Which is great.
Good to hear, because it's definitely blowing and going here in Huntsville.
No doubt about that. And his whole point was you got a community that in that area is very candidly racially divided. And a thing like F3 where it's open to all men, cool. Let's help bring some of those barriers down and do that. So I'm happy to see what they've been able to do in that Florence, Muscle Shoals area, outside of some outstanding golf over there. Good music too, man. They got some music history to them.
Yeah, Muscle Shoals has a Swampers.
I know. I know. And I went over to that it's very little building now, right? Where like these historic musicians have come through. So
yeah, Fame. Did you go to Fame?
I mean, it's this like little white brick building on the side of the road.
Yeah, there's a documentary that I've never seen because it's only available on like Hulu or something now. I don't know. I don't have access to it, but I'd love to watch it. Well, you've talked about the similarities with F3 and the connections with F3 and NGBN TV.
Yeah.
So this is something you're big. You've been in it much longer than me. I'll be hitting a 2-year anniversary here before long.
That's good. Yeah.
But
I'm at let's see, we got started May of 2017. So I'm just over 7 years at this point, which is kind of crazy. Yeah. And that's wild, man. I mean, I've got guys in my area. Like I see these guys every day. Like we spend so much time together. It's pretty incredible.
Well, I'll put a link to your Circle of Trust podcast too, along with Pick Up the Six.
Sure. Thank you.
But I'm a gear guy.
Yeah.
Kind of almost fanatic.
Right.
And
you bought your sons their own rucks.
Yeah.
That's incredible, man.
Well, you should have seen 2 weeks ago, I did the Nashville City Ruck with my buddy, Chris Sprayberry.
Okay.
And
how far?
26 miles, 26.2. We ended up doing 28 because we messed up a little bit.
By the way, like y'all think, oh, they're just walking for 26 miles. What were you underweight at 30 or were you at more?
Well, we had a 20-pound plate, but my ruck was 30 to 35 pounds, depending when. Yeah.
26 is, I mean, that's your feet and your ankles and all that are, you're sore after that one.
No doubt. Yeah, I was. No, and of course, here I am. I'm testing out new gear, and of course, Chris was. It was funny. He was like, I was like, hey, well, I got on merino wool. It's not going to stink. It's fine. I'll put another layer on, and so he's like, you and your all these socks are fine too. They're merino wool. Don't worry about it. They're good. So, but anyway, I'm always with F3 being outdoors, and so it's rain or shine, hot or cold.
Yeah.
And so we experience all these these temperature, I guess, variations throughout the year. So I'm always wanting good gear because I want stuff that's going to be tough. Because with us, we're on the ground a lot. We're in parking lots, so we're on tennis courts, we're on sidewalks, and so there's a lot of abrasion.
Yep.
And of course, you could be on grass too. You could be in a creek.
Yeah.
But water. I like to pose this for you. Think of like a 20-degree morning.
20 degrees
early in the morning.
Yeah.
20 degrees. Okay. And whether it's raining or not.
I used to, when I first started F3, I used to wear gloves like all the time because we do a lot of bear crawls and your hands are on the ground quite a bit. And I found, and I live in central North Carolina and you live in humid town that is Alabama. We're very similar climates. I found that those gloves were getting pretty rank and it was no bueno. Right. And even like I'd wash my hands and they'd still stink. So I stopped wearing gloves unless the temperatures get cold. Unless I know we're doing something that is really serious, like nonstop cinder blocks, or if I'm doing a big ruck event, I know I'm going to have to be grabbing things and like that. I'm not usually traditionally wearing like gloves. And, like those mechanic work gloves, they're great. 20 degrees for me. I'm probably in a hooded sweatshirt. And our friends at Mud Gear have these Sport Tech hooded sweatshirts. I'm not wearing one today. I wish I was. And they're fleece lined. So if you wear one of those with a long sleeve shirt underneath, even in 20 degrees, you're good. If it's 20, I've got a winter hat on. I could always pull it up over the ears. My head runs hot. So I get hot through the head and the hands pretty fast. But if it's 20, I'm in a winter hat. If it's super windy and the wind chill's taking me into the teens, I might throw a buff on to pull up over the face, but probably not if it's just a traditional 20-degree day. I'm likely in, if I'm going for a ruck, I'm in tactical pants. I got Prana from REI. They're the best tactical pants I own. GORUCK makes some great ones as well. If I'm going to a regular F3 boot camp, I'm in shorts and probably like a base layer tight or something like that.
Okay.
But even when it's 20, I like to keep the tights off as long as possible. And just because you're going to get, if it's a heavy run workout where you're going to be running a bunch, your legs will get warmed up. If I'm going to a limited, so this is a long way of saying I base the gear based on what I think I'm going to end up doing. Like I dress for work based on what the day's like. I do a lot of work in advocacy. If I'm going to the legislature, I got to put a suit on. Today, I'm recording podcasts and hosting meetings. You can see what I'm wearing. I've been wearing this all day. So I tend to view my outdoor fitness stuff the same way. And then for shoes, I take running shoes that have graduated out of running miles and then I turn them into F3 Gloom shoes because you are inevitably going to chew your shoes up with side straddle hops and plank jack and just all the stuff we do. Your shoes get chewed up. So most of the time, the shoes I'm wearing to F3 are old running shoes that have been retired or old trail shoes because we do end up on grass quite a bit. So that's what that looks like. Now, if I'm rucking in 20 degrees, I'm wearing some sort of trail hybrid shoe. If I know I'm not going to be on the pavement very long, I 100% I'm wearing the Mud Gear Speed Ruck. It's a brand new rucking boot that's built for speed. It's light, but it's got endurance and the tread on it is outstanding. Plus, use the code PUT6 and you can save some money on the Speed Rucks.
I've seen you. Yeah, right? I know you've advertised that one. Yeah.
But I wear them and they come up. So they're a mid-height rucking boot. And the guy that started Mud Gear was like, there's no rucking boot. So he partnered with a shoe company called VJ Shoes, and they strictly make trail running shoes out of like Switzerland or somewhere over there. And so they know their way around good trail shoes. So he's made this sort of hybrid rucking boot that performs really well. It's a little knobby for pavement, which means it does great on all other terrain. right? So it's just a little loud on the pavement just because the rubber knobs on the shoe, right? It's got a big trail kind of component to it. So if I'm rucking, I'm probably bundled up a little bit more because your engine gets cooking, but not like when you're running around the gloom and doing a bunch of stuff like that. And then I'll definitely have gloves on, right? Like a Ninja Ice or something like that I can grip, but to keep the hands warm. But if I'm moving quite a bit, those gloves might come off at some point because my head and hands just run kind of hot.
What about for cold, for 20 degrees? What kind of socks are you wearing?
I usually only wear one pair of socks. Boy, I'm going to sound like a Mudgear commercial. And mudgear.com code PUT6. So you can support what we're doing.
There you go.
They do make different variations of socks, and he got in the game really as socks is one of the first things he was creating. He makes a ruck sock, which is really comfortable. His run sock is a little bit thicker. That is great. I've got I like features for socks, and I have some smart wools that are good too. But I've done multiple 16-hour overnight heavy ruck events. They're GORUCK F3 themed ruck events, but it's similar to doing I guess it's a tough in the GORUCK space, whatever's 12-ish hours, right? There's a heavy, tough, and a light. It's probably the tough, right?
Heavy's probably 24, I guess.
Yeah,
right?
probably, right? And so for those, I traditionally have worn a Saucony Peregrine trail shoe, the Mudgear ruck sock, and I've been in and out of the ocean, and I've never changed my socks in the event. Halfway through the event, I'll take my shoes off, I'll clean my socks out, I'll put them back on, right back on, all good. And I've had no foot issues on those events.
Beautiful.
And I've worn tack pants, those prawn tack pants I've worn in and out of the ocean during events. They drain out quick. I mean, you'll get some sand buildup in your shoes and all that, but they've performed really well. And Mudgear makes a really good functional, battle tested kind of outdoor shirt. But GORUCK also makes great equipment that obviously is built for rucking too. And their rucksacks are the best in the business. I mean, it's hands down. GORUCK's got the market on rucks, no doubt.
You know, today at our workout, you had my sons had their new rucksacks, and two other guys had brand new rucksacks. It was awesome to see.
Well, and GORUCK's going to let you know now who made those rucksacks. It says GORUCK right across the back. It's the one part of the new design I'm not really in love with. I liked it when it was just the.
Yeah, I like the subtlety.
You know, a little subtle. You got my little Yoda man right there, but look, I mean, that's the thing right there. Right? This is my laptop bag, right?
That's a GR1, huh?
Yeah, this one's slick and light. This one I carry laptop and all that stuff in, and then I got two in the back of the truck right now, right? A couple of ruckers, 20-liter and a 26-liter that keep a little weight in them. And I like to keep an extra ruck in the truck in case a guy comes along that's never rucked before and he wants to go with us. All right, man, bro, take this one. Check it out, right? See what's up. So.
See, you're always thinking of other people.
Listen, man, look, if I can get another guy under some weight and convert one more runner to be a rucker.
Yeah. Hey, my buddy Chris told me 2 weeks ago while we were walking, he was pretty ticked. He was getting in some pain. He's like, we got to find you another hobby.
Because you brought him into it?
Well, I think he felt pressured, and I didn't want him to feel. I just offered, and he's like, okay, I guess I got to do it. But I didn't know he was that hesitant. But no, we finished it.
He did a marathon with you, man. That's no joke. We've done I've rucked that far of a distance, but over the course of those entire nights. Putting the hammer down for 26 straight is tough, man.
Yeah.
We did 10 and a half 2 weeks ago, and my dogs were barking, bro, by the time that thing was over.
Oh, they're barking, no doubt.
Yeah. Yep.
What about if it's 30 degrees and if let's add some rain into it and you're there, you're not at the gym, you're actually going to the workout.
Yeah.
Still really cold with rain.
I've never worn a raincoat to F3. I don't think I've seen some guys wear a rain jacket, but I'm like, how many rain jackets do you have? Because that thing's going to get gross.
Yeah.
So you know what? You're going to get wet, man. Whatever. I'm just going to get wet. Those Mudgear, they're not made by Mudgear. Sport Tech hooded sweatshirt, but they print all the F3 logos on them. Those things, man, I've got 8 of those jammers. Different.
So are they
colors,
not? They're not
logos.
Cotton then?
No. So the outside is like a sports lower end wicking material, like not like what you have on. And then the inside is just a thin fleece line. So you can wear them in all kinds of weather with a t-shirt, but if it's cold, like they hold up to the heat pretty well and they drop you're going to get wet, right? Now, Mudgear does make their own patented sort of outdoor athlete sweatshirt that is much more water resistant. So actually, to your answer, if it's raining and it's 30, I'm putting the Mudgear sweatshirt on, which is on their website as well. It's a little pricey, but I think it's worth the price point because it repels water right off of it. But here's the deal, man. F3 has 5 rules, right? It's free. It's open to all men. It's held outdoors, rain or shine, hot or cold. Part of the issue is let me get outside and when it's uncomfortable and just deal with it. Because you know what? I'm going to go home. I'm going to get the kids breakfast, get them off to school. I'm going to come into this office. It's climate controlled. It's all right. It's not a big deal. So if I get out there and if it's 90 degrees and humid and I'm gross, great. And if it's 30 degrees and I'm freezing and I'm cold, you know what? It's 45 minutes. And maybe that's the hardest thing you have to do that day. And that's kind of part of it, right? It's like, let me embrace the suck a little bit. Let's bear down. Everything will be fine. We'll get through it. Maybe it'll make you a little bit tougher. So it's all good.
Good way to look at it. Yeah. It's just 45 minutes.
It's just 45 minutes, bro.
Anything else for you, Brian?
It's been a whirlwind. It's been exciting. I believe, the amount of people we come across and we tell what we're doing and then why we're doing it, people, kind of start leaning in. And so I know we're on the right track with that. And like I said, I think our focus is to continue that as this thing grows, we remain true to what we're looking to do here. And then we continue to bring more folks in to help us strengthen and reach more people. So we're just getting started. How does
someone become part of the network? Like if they have an existing show or program, how do they get on there? How does that work?
NGBN.tv is the website. So you can go there. There's contact forms on there you can fill out. There's ways folks can sponsor the network, be a part of it that way. So if you've got a brand, company, organization, you're watching this and you're like, I am missionally aligned with what they're trying to do, go to ngbn.tv and reach out. You can always email me. I'm at brian@ngbntv.com. Or just go to the website, right? Go to ngbn.tv and you can fill out a form. We'll get in touch with you, all that kind of stuff. So we need help as we go, for sure. And we'd love to have you on the journey with us.
Man, God bless you. I think your overall description earlier about men and the attack, I'm going to look up that First Peter and whether
1 Peter chapter 5, verse 8. Your enemy is like a lion, looking for something to devour. Now, here's the beauty of the rest of this line. So it says your enemy is like a lion, which is, it's a very interesting verse because we often depict the lion as the hero most times than not, right? But in this case, Peter is saying your enemy is like a lion looking for something to devour. Now, the key that Peter then tells his audience is resist him, knowing that there are others like you firm in the faith. So the point of the story is, the enemy's like this big lion coming to get you, but resist him because you're not alone. And that's why that's such an important, I'm going to get myself emotional. That's why that's such an important verse for me, because you can feel like the weight of the world is crashing in on you. And sometimes, brother, it is, but you're not alone. You don't have to be. And even if that lion is out of the cage and he's at the doorstep, there are other people out there that have your back that are dying to help. So please don't isolate. Don't run off on your own. Don't do that. We can tackle anything in your life, bro. I'm glad you asked about this. Less than a month ago, I spent another 6 hours at the Monroe Correctional Facility just north of Seattle, mentoring and ministering, but mentoring to men in prison, right? Those guys have done, some of them, heinous acts. Some of those guys will get out. Some of those guys might not. And we can work through, or they can be redeemed for any of those acts. But there's one thing that you do that we can't help anymore. If you check out, we can't help. There's nothing anybody can do at that point. So part of it is like figuring out how can we get in the way of this thing? How can we ask the right questions? How can we listen for things? Or how can we just create community where men can go to where, I'm not trying to be graphic, but to where the guy doesn't walk into the garage, grab a thing that he can use to end his life. And in that impulse of a moment, right? Do that thing we can't undo. So that's the beauty of that verse, though, is you might feel like the lion's roaring and he's going to devour you. But I love the words, resist him, knowing there are others in the faith, firm in the faith, that are out there for you. So Peter's whole point, I think, right, was to paint the picture of, and I'm no biblical scholar, but I just do love this line, was to paint the picture of, because at this time, remember, Christians are getting persecuted all over the globe, right? Peter gets killed, crucified upside down for his beliefs. Upside down because he wasn't worthy to go the same way his Savior did. But his whole point was like, you're not alone. You're not alone. Even in the worst, right? Even if they're coming for you, even if they're at the door, you're not alone. I think that's the important part of that piece.
Let me add to that. You said there's people that want to help or that care.
Yeah.
And if going back to the Old Testament, one of my favorite stories in scriptures is 2 Kings 6. And I won't go into the background, but people can read it. But fear not, for they that be with us are more than they that be with them.
That's right.
And I had found a note in here. Always, that's always the case, whether they're seen or unseen. There are more for us
Yep.
than against us, and we have power over the adversary.
Yep. Yep. And if you believe in the selfishness, and I refer to him the enemy, I'm talking about Satan, right? If you believe in what he ultimately wants, every time you resist him and walk away from that temptation, dude, he's so mad, bro. He's so mad. He's on the run. So that's why I love the words resist him, because it's empowering. And that's beautiful connection to my New Testament friends. Don't sleep on the valuable lessons that are held in the Old Testament. Go read the stories of David, King David, right? The mighty king slayed the giant. That dude was a broken mess. Murderer, adulterer, I think, stole. I mean, he did some bad stuff.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
And then there's a lot of just empowering language. So when I'm feeling the heat of life, I'm like, all right, cool. You know what? The enemy might feel like a lion on the prowl looking for something to devour. Resist him. And there's others out there that got my back. Got it. Roger that. Here we go.
That's right. I know you have like external to you. You have your family and your personal relationship with God, but you also have your circle of trust.
Oh, I got guys I can call on in a moment's notice. Guys carry a lot of weight, man. Guys carry a lot with them every single day. And I think part of the conversation is you don't have to do it alone. And by the way, like, you're not the only one. Like, yeah, man, I get depressed too. Okay. What do you do about it? Well, here's what I do. Here's how I talk through it. Right. There's just a lot of that. And let's break the stigmas down, right? Let's get rid of the notion that, you know, the guy comes home and he's sort of just off on his own. Like, nah, man, we don't need to be doing that anymore.
Yeah. And sometimes we need these smaller groups because people aren't going to bring it up in Sunday school.
For sure.
Or even in your small group. They may need a smaller.
Yeah, they might not want to do it in front of 30 dudes at the end of an F3 workout. That can be intimidating. But also part of it is like, are we breaking down the stigmas to where guys feel comfortable asking 2 or 3 guys to talk to them? And if it's not us, are we looking around and what are the signs if a guy might need somebody to talk to?
Yeah.
Right. And that's the big part of that equip component that I think we're trying to do with the network and through other efforts too.
Thanks for what you're doing for the demographic that you and I are both in.
Yep.
And then all the other things you're doing for our military, for veterans, for their families, and just as a dad yourself and as a husband.
Got it. Carry on. And thankful for you and your family, man. It was great to meet your brothers and your dad and all those folks, and grateful for your family sacrifice, bro.